Action! Hi, are you just like me and you have a hard time having your hard-earned money earned? Hello everyone, my name. Do you find it hard sometimes to show your pride and joy, all that money you threw into your beautiful mask and it just doesn't want to stand? Holy shit, it's standing. Hi. Do you find that your hard-earned money that you put into your collection, you just can't find the proper way to show it off? Your neighbors come over and they say, wow, I sure do like your pride and joy. It's too bad you can't have it stand properly. You're embarrassed by your Coca-Cola stand. Just like this one here. It's not classy. Crap. Well, in this video, in this tutorial, I will show you in less than 12 steps how to have a beautiful stand just like this for your amazing collection. Stick around. That's pretty good, right? Well, hello everyone. Of course, it is me, Scott. That's right, that guy that you occasionally stumble across here on YouTube. Today's video is a I promise, a one-part tutorial on how I make my mask stands. Now, recently I did, 6 parts, and they were long. Yes, they were, but I had to go through it very thoroughly. On this guy right here, that's right, the Trick or Treat Studios, AKA Tots, Halloween 2018. And I realized I really needed a nice stand. I was out of them, and I thought, well, you know what, why don't I just do a video on how I made the stand, and well, pretty much other ones I've done before in the past. Not all of them, but a handful of them. Well, let me go over the prices and basically where I purchased these at, which the majority of the stuff I've got here is from Hobby Lobby. Yes, I mentioned Hobby Lobby quite a bit, but it's a great place for me to get the materials that I need when it comes to airbrushes or whatnot. And if you've got one nearby, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, as I went up there, I bought 4 of these bases. One I've already used, of course. And the ones I've got right here, it has a routed edge. It just gives off a little bit more of a style because they do have round cutouts, you know. I don't want to say they're not pre-treated. It's more like a pine. You can buy them in sets. Like I said, they're just round. This right here, they're individually, and it's at $2.49. If you have a Menards, I think they have these available there as well. It just popped in my head. But $2.49. Like I said, I bought 4 of them, so there's the number, the math up there. These like rods, these dowel rods, yeah, dowels. There's 4 of them in a pack. Obviously, I used one already. $3.99. So here's $4 right here. And then this felt. It's very important that you remind yourself to get felt because you want to keep the surface of whatever you display it on, wood or glass, you want to keep it protected as you move it around or whatever. Plus it just feels nice and it looks good too. And these are priced at $1.29. So 4, and one of these, there you go. Still pretty affordable. Now there's one other thing that I add. I'm still going on the, the cheap end. And I'm like, well, I could put some plastic bags. I've done that in the past, but it's just kind of hectic to keep it somewhat balanced. So I went across the street to Dollar Tree and bought, and I thought they've got to have something there. These bowls, and they came in a set of 3, $1.25. I bought 2 of them, so there's the math there. Now the tools that I use is basically a drill. I recommend that you use a drill. Let's see, a drill bit, because you want to pre-drill your holes into your base and your rods. And of course this counter bit right here I use, and I'll show that in the video. And of course some screws. That's pretty much it. Now if you have to go out and buy these, it's still pretty affordable. Of course you can go to your local hardware store to buy yourself, a bunch of screws. And look at this way, if you're never going to use screws again, which if you decided that you're going to get more masks, well, you've always got these on hand, and if you're always going to need screws, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, forgot, sand. I like to make sure I sand these bases before I even start painting them. And if you have acrylic paints around because you've been working on your masks, and let's say whatever colors you want, it doesn't matter, that's completely up to you. Of course, I went with black. Yes, you could use some of your acrylic paint. It works just fine. Well, now that I've gone over all these parts and the prices and what I use, why don't I go ahead and actually start putting this bad boy together? Hell, you probably figured it out already. Yeah, because it's just that easy. So let's get to work. All right, what you want to do now is carefully, and I mean carefully, measure out all of your wooden plaques. Now, I started measuring these out as if it was 6 inches and 3/4, but I realized, wait a minute, they're not all exactly the same size. So I've made some mistakes already, as you can clearly see on the other two. So I'm going over it carefully, trying to find my center, which I have. So I found it right there. I'll make a little circle. And then on the other two, I re-corrected the measurements and made the circle in the center. So now I'm going to prepare to do a simple pre-drill on all 3 of these wooden plaque bases, whatever you want to call them. I call them a base. That's right, a base for my masks. All right, let me get this pin out of the way since I've already used that to make those excellent centered lines. Yeah, we're gonna get ready here to do some pre-drill. Let's make sure the camera is good to go, and action. Already you're screwing up. You got the button of the drill blocking the view for all the people out there to watch this amazing video. On top of that, you just drilled a hole into your table. Smooth move, dumbass. Great, great, yeah. Now folks, don't do what I'm doing if you have a nice surface you don't want to drill into your table. But in my case, this is a desk that I've had around for years, so I don't mind doing this sort of work on it. You want to be very careful while you're doing this, regardless if it's a nice table or not, because you don't want to do something stupid and force these, pre-drill bits into it and then possibly hurt yourself. You want to be very careful when it comes to using these power tools. Trust me, if you're not used to working with power tools, then get somebody else to do it for you, especially when it comes to like this counter sinker drill bit here. It can be very sharp and dangerous if you don't allow it to do the work. Some people will force it. You don't want to force it. Just be very careful because you only want to go so far. Which, by the way, I obviously flipped over the wooden, plaque right here. I hope you could tell. And of course, that drill bit that I pre-drilled earlier is giving me a well indicator of where I need to put the center of this counter sinker drill bit. Now this, see how unsafe that is? See, I was giving you an example of what not to do. Yes, don't do what I just did, because you can hurt yourself. If you may not drill a hole in your hand, you may end up, just imagine what could happen, okay? Just be careful. Don't be stupid like me. So yeah, just go flush. Just go flush with it. I think you can see about where I stop. Hopefully, yep, right there, that looks good. All right, you're good to go, Scott. Don't bother getting rid of that sawdust. All right, now we're going to these dowel rods. Yeah, the dowel rods, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I mark a center spot on each end here. I'm not gonna worry about, getting out the tape measure. I'm gonna eyeball it. And finally, some cooler stuff. I'm going to do some more pre-drilling, just like I did with those round wooden bases with the same drill bit. And I want to make sure that when I drill on each end of these wooden rods, that I'm not going to try to force it. I have rushed so many things before in life, but when it comes to power tools, no, absolutely not. I'm going to let the power tools do all the hard work. So I'm just going to find that center, that dot that I drew, and just start pre-drilling it. Now, I'm already thinking ahead. Some of you are going to think, well, why can't I just, take those wooden, screws, the screws that are specially made to screw into wood. Why can't I just go ahead and, use that instead of pre-drilling it? Well, if you don't make some pre-drilled holes, especially with these dowel rods, you might find yourself it being more of a challenge to get those screws inside, in this case, the rods. And therefore, you may be forcing it, and you may end up hurting yourself, not to mention splitting the wood. So yes, take a few extra moments and pre-drill some holes. That way you're going to be a lot more satisfied and happier with your final product. Are you excited? Because I'm about ready to sand these wooden plaques here. Yeah, the most exciting part of this video, where I'm just going to go over the surface and the edge. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to worry about sanding the bottom. It's just not necessary. And I'm just using a fine grid. This little device you see here to the center of the screen, and now on my left hand, it's basically like a block that's just well, sandpaper, I guess. And it's a fine grid. And I just want to just smooth out the edges a little bit. That way when I paint it, it's going to absorb it so much better, because I usually put 2 coats on her. Even though acrylic paint is usually pretty thick, I at least want to put 2 coats over it, because you never know, I may have missed something, or, you know, a second coat never hurts. And I will sand in between both coats of paint too, by the way, which I would recommend that you would do. Now, if you're going to stain it, or maybe polyurethane, whatever the case may be, then you're definitely going to want to sand it down. There's no doubt about it. Oh, and if you do choose to stain it, the rewarding part of it's going to be so much more enjoyable, because it'll smell damn good when it's done. Well, now that I'm done sanding, I cleaned up my mess basically, because I want a clean table to work on, because I'm getting ready to paint, and I don't want any of that, you know, sand dust in it. And I want to clean off the top of these, you know, round wooden plaques here. Yeah, I don't want to have any sand dust on there, because it'd be kind of foolish to have some dust remaining on there while I'm putting some, you know, acrylic paint on it. So I've just got some, you know, some rubbing alcohol that I'm just going to clean it off with. I mean, you could use some water if you want to, but I've just got some rubbing alcohol. It works just fine. Or if you have any mineral oil, I would suggest that you would do that, or vegetable oil, if you're going to stain your plaques, or, you know, use lacquer thin or whatever. It just does a really hell of a good job of cleaning off the wooden surface, and it's just a great combination with any stains that you use. Yep, my old shop teacher taught me that a long time ago. Pretty cool trick. Well, folks, I do apologize. I thought I hit the record button on painting. Well, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'll go ahead and show you how I paint one of these wooden plaques. Well, it's pretty simple, actually. What I do is I just take a screw. As you can see here, I take a screw and I just screw it in just a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. And there's a reason for it. Can you figure out why? I'm gonna let you guess. That's right. I want to use it as a handle, because let's face it, you're going to be busy painting these things, especially like in my case, by hand, and you need to figure out a way, well, how am I going to lift this damn thing up without getting my hands all, well, dirty with paint? Well, I just use a screw here as a handle. So I'm just using some of this black acrylic paint that I had squirted, you know, into this tray here. Probably going to need some more, so I'll just go ahead and, come on, Scott, be brave and show them. Just show them what you do here. Be completely transparent. Yes, it's some acrylic paint, and if you've been rehauling masks like myself, you've got plenty of it around. If not, you know how cheap it can be. That's right, you can get as low as 99 cents at times. So I'm just using some black acrylic paint. I'm not thinning it out. I don't need to, because it's wood. Because it's gonna, oh, let's face it, as you know, wood breathes pretty well, and I'm painting with the grain, not against it. So I'm just gonna take this basic paintbrush that I have and just go with the grain. And now with that screw, I can easily lift it up off the table and get the edges that I need to, as you can pretty well see I did right there, and paint the edges. Now, I made it very clear earlier that this table right here, I'm not worried about damaging it, therefore I'm not worried about getting any paint on it. So think about where you're working at. Do you have a surface like this? If so, then you're not going to worry as well. So yes. So don't forget to take a screw and do something like this. It'll save you a lot of aggravations. Speaking of screws, I've got 3 screws that I drilled through an old shelf that I had laying around, and as you can see here, well, it's upside down. So I could take these wooden dowels where I made, you know, pre-drill holes in them. And yeah, we got the things upside down. I think they can tell, Scott. And I basically just screw them on here by hand. I don't, you know, make it go down all the way. I know the one in the middle looks like it went down pretty far, but the screw I have there is actually shorter than the other 2. So yeah, this is a pretty easy, simple contraption that I made to not only make the painting process much easier, and well, the drying especially, so I don't want these things laying around somewhere. All right, now I'm getting ready to paint with the same acrylic paint that I used the wooden bases on. And I'm just taking my time, you know, going over all 3. And another great thing about this device is I can obviously spin it around so it's so much easier for me to, you know, get all sides of the rods here. So yeah, I like this little contraption. I'm going to hold on to it for, you know, future mask stands that I choose to make. And I'm of course gonna let all of my work that I've done today, all the paint, I'm gonna let it set overnight. And then tomorrow, when it feels like it's dry, I may make that decision, which chances are I will have to put another coat on the base, and I'll just sand it before I do, clean it off. These rods, I probably won't. I'll probably only need to put one, maybe two coats, but I'm not gonna worry about sanding them. So yeah, we're almost done here, and I hope everything that I've showed and explained to you seems pretty simple, and you can find yourself doing this for yourself. It's a very simple project. Now here we find our hero working on these mask stands the very next day. Now I got up bright and early, and I thought, well, let's see how these things are coming along, and they're nice and dry. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to worry about putting a second coat on either the dowel rods or the base, the round plaques, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and get this puppy ready. So I'm going to go ahead and get this dowel rod. Now I'm expecting to be pretty tight right here. You know, it is a 3/4 of an inch. And with wood, if you've got everything at the right measurements, it's, you know, at times going to be a little stubborn, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. So I'm just twisting it in there. It's nice and snug. And now I'm going to, of course, take one of these little screws here. Since I've got this all pre-drilled, I've got this torqued down because I don't want to try to force this in there. No, you could use like a manual Phillips or whatever tool that you're using to match your screws, but I'm just going to go ahead and drill this at the bottom here on each and every one of these plaques. Come on, Scott, you can do a better job than that. Nope, it's just being a little stubborn, which that's going to happen from time to time, especially when you have a Phillips drill bit that's dulled out and you need to invest in some new ones. Be smart and work with the right tools, folks. You could use just a manual Phillips, and that's what I should have done in the first place. But enough about me, let's get on with this project. All right, I got all these dowel rods screwed into the bottom of the bases. Now I'm gonna add this felt. As you can see, there's a sticky little thing here to advertise what this is. And of course, you wanna make sure that you remove that. Yeah, I mean, you could keep it on there if you want to, but you know, I choose to remove it. Scott, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. So I'm gonna go ahead and simply turn this upside down, and I'm going to take one of these dowel rods, and I'm gonna, well, of course, set it right here on the edge of this felt, and of course naturally trace along around the round edge so I will have an idea of what I'm going to cut out. I think this is pretty well self-explanatory. Piece that I need traced out here, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare to, yeah, that's right, cut out this circle. Can Scott, can you show the folks the fine circle that you drawed? Oh, that's a beautiful circle, Scott. You did an amazing job. All right, let's speed things up here because I'm sure a lot of you out there by now know what to do. That's right, get out your scissors and just cut along this circle that you're going to draw. In this case, well, that's what I'm doing. In fact, I want to show off my handy skills of being a lefty using right-handed scissors as I cut along the circle. Wasn't that amazing? In fact, I'm going to hold on to some of this felt because you never know what I'm going to use in the future. So I'm going to take some tacky glue. That's right, I'm going to go ahead and glue along the base of, well, the bottom of the base here. Then I'm just going to take a brush and just spread it out as evenly as I possibly can, just thin it out. And I got lucky having the hole on my desk here because it made it a lot easier. Of course, when you need 3 hands and you only have 2, especially when you're trying to remove the paper from the sticky side, when you have no thumbnails, it's kind of a pain. So yes, I'm just simply applying it, spreading it out, and yeah, seems to be doing a good job, and we're ready to go for the next one here. And I'm following the same process that I did with the first one. Applying some glue, taking the brush, spreading it out, and of course after that, yeah, put it on that little hole, and voila. So yeah, I think you get the idea of what to do here at this point. Pretty easy, right? Of course it is. All right, now we're going to attach the very last part, and that's the bowls. Now I've already pre-drilled, which I highly recommend that you do. And of course, when you do that, it goes in like butter with all 3, even with these plastic bowls. Now I'm just going to simply attach the bowls upside down on the dowel rod here. Got my Phillips, and of course I got to get out the drill because, you know, I just don't have any patience. But if you're going to use a drill, make sure that you turn on the lowest settings because you don't want to you know, put too much pressure on it and then possibly crack the bowl. Even though they're $1.25, but still, you're doing this for a purpose, right? So yeah, make sure that you have your presettings, the torque down low. In fact, as you can see here, I'm still manually putting these in there because I just don't want to take any chances of forcing that screw into it. So yeah, pretty much all set here. I've got all 3 of my mask stands pretty much completed, and I'm happy and satisfied with how the progress has went. So yeah, there you go, folks. Here we are watching our hero finishing the mask stands. Pretty amazing job, if I may say so myself. Aww. So there you have it, folks. A very simple and affordable way of making your own mask stand, or stands, of course. Over here, I've got a couple of them already in use, and then what's in between these two bowls, I want to let you know now, is, well, some of these grocery bags. It just gives it a little bit extra cushion and height. And speaking of height, as we all know, not all masks are made to be the exact same, well, size. If you have a 78, Tots Myers mask, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or the latest, of course, the HE, Halloween Ends mask. It's a little bit bigger than these two. Well, this guy right here, which I've had for quite a while in my collection, Twisty the Clown, another Tots mask. I've always loved this thing. The details on it is fantastic. Well, I think you can pretty much tell if you haven't owned one yet for yourself, it's a pretty big mask. So what if you've got stands that you've made just like this in this height, and you run into a situation like this, and like, well, man, this really defeats the purpose of making a stand. I mean, sure, it holds the mask up, but it just doesn't look right. Well, very simple fix. Chances are you've got these laying around because you've already used it like what I described there. Well, just, make your own adjustments, of course. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I already tested this off camera, so I know this is exactly what I needed. And voila. It's a very simple fix. And another thing, too, I've noticed earlier, just like I do now, I enjoy this mask even more simply because it's on a more attractive stand. And if you have your masks on just little simple displays, or you're just, I don't know, maybe you're like me, you've had it on, hell, in the past I used gallon containers, now of course Coca-Cola containers, which you have seen in these past videos. I use those a lot if I've got a lot of masks that I'm working on. But when I really want to show it off, a more attractive stand really sets it off, at least I think. Well, that's going to do it for this tutorial, and I hope that you've enjoyed it and got something from it. And of course, if you enjoy the content that you've been seeing here from the past, present, and hopefully future, and if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, then please do so. I would truly appreciate it. And of course, a big thumbs up will help me push, my content a little bit more popular in this wonderful YouTube algorithm. And of course, hitting that notification bell may or may not, I say that very clearly because I still hear people, telling me, or at least they're saying something in the comment section, or maybe on Instagram, they're stating, well, I didn't get notified about your latest video. Folks, I'm doing everything I can by telling you to do so, and hopefully YouTube will fix that issue someday. I don't understand it, and I never will. Alrighty, well, I'm all finished here. I'm gonna go ahead and put these bad boys up and hopefully finish on another project that I've been putting off. Well, work's been busy. It always is this time of the year. But yeah, it's another mask related project, and it has to do with a certain film that, let's just put it this way, I definitely enjoy the mask a hell of a lot more in that film. I think you got the idea of what mask I'm talking about. Alrighty, well, I'm shutting up. Everybody out there, if I don't get a chance to create another video before Thanksgiving, I hope you all here in the United States enjoy your Thanksgiving. Stay safe out there, and I hope to see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.